everyone, this is Dimo Gonzalez of Heartwood Financial Services. So are the reports of the dollar's demise for real, or is this just a big exaggeration? Well, I'm going to dig into the facts and break them down for you, so let's get right into it. Alright, so first of all, I want to acknowledge there's been a lot of negative headlines lately about the dollar. Now, there's been negative headlines about the dollar for many, many years, but it does seem like it's ramped up lately, and for good reason. And we should read these articles and take some caution with them. But what I want to do in this video is I want to give you a little bit more perspective, because oftentimes these headlines and videos that you watch don't give you the full story. So I want to give you some facts here today that'll help balance out this news. So in case you haven't seen some of the news lately about the dollar, here is an example of some of the headlines that have been covering the newspapers and YouTube and the news channels. And they all sound pretty ominous. It makes it sound like the Yuan or the BRICS countries are coming together and they're putting the dollar into the grave. And certainly there is a cautionary tale here. Some people feel like we have been abusing our power as the reserve currency with some of the ways we use sanctions. But you could also understand from China and India and some of these countries' standpoints, their economies are manipulated or they have to deal, maybe better said, with the dollar, and it's out of their control. So they don't like that. So they're trying to take back some control. So it's understandable that they're going to kind of fight back. But what I want to do with this video is show you how difficult it's going to be for them and how there's really not a very good replacement at this time. Alright, so check this out. If the dollar was just completely being obliterated and its demise was right around the corner, would the reserve banks around the world hold 60% of their foreign reserves in the US dollar? So it's by far the biggest holding of any foreign reserve bank. Second is the euro, and then comes all the others. And as you can see, China being one of the smallest, a very small percentage here. And so the dominance in the dollar here as far as a currency reserve and the confidence that the foreign governments have in the US dollar appears to still be very high. Now, mind you, it's dropped a little bit in the last 20 years. It was around 70%. Now it's around 60%. But still, it's a huge dominant player in foreign reserves. All right, so next let's take a look at how much the US dollar is used in foreign trade. Okay, so as you can see here, broken down by the regions, that in the Americas, the dollar is used pretty much exclusively. In Asia, it is huge, all right? In Europe, well, the euro is used quite a bit, makes sense, but they still use the dollar quite a bit as well. And really, the rest of the world is mostly used in US dollars. So in fact, it's about 70% of trade is done in US dollars. So essentially, if India wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia wants dollars. They don't want rupee, okay? And the reason that is because the dollar is more liquid, it holds its value, and so this is still the dominant use for trade is the dollar. Alright, last two charts that I want to show you. Did you know that when most foreign governments borrow money, they don't borrow the money in their currency? They actually borrow it in dollars. And that's because other governments don't want to lend them money and then expect to be paid back in the other currency because, frankly, a lot of times they don't trust it. So the US dollar is actually used for global financing. As you can see here, global debt is 60% denominated in dollars. And that's pretty huge. Again, that shows the dominance of the dollar. And then the last one I'll bring up here is FX trading. So that's where, the currency exchanges. Most of the transactions that are occurring around the world, 88% of those Forex transactions are transferring something to a dollar or a dollar into something. So the dollar is involved in pretty much all of the transactions. So there's liquidity there and there's high volume with the US dollar. Alright, so the last case that I want to make is I actually want to show you how the dollar has been doing over the last several years. And so this is the dollar here, and you can see over the last 5 years it has gone up a lot. And in fact, it's gone up a lot here mostly over the last year or two during the pandemic. The dollar was a safe haven, okay? And then once we saw inflation start to really rear its ugly head, the Fed started raising interest rates very quickly in 2022. So that's where you see the biggest spike in the dollar going up. Now, you might say, well, Demo, it does look like the dollar's been coming down. That's what a lot of these news stories are focusing. But first of all, it's just coming down from a very high level where it hadn't reached in many, many years. Okay, and also the biggest story that's happening is what the Fed is doing. The Fed is still raising rates, but they've been raising rates slower than the rest of the world, and that's because our inflation is starting to come down faster than most of the developed worlds, especially in Europe. So that's why you've seen the euro, or I should say the dollar, start to come down here a little bit. Alright, so what do you do with this information? I think I've made the case that the dollar's not going anywhere, but it definitely looks like it's weakening, and maybe it's just kind of a cyclical thing that happens more than anything else, and that's kind of the point that I'm making here. But still, you could take this information and you can use it to help you in your portfolio. So here I want to show you a chart of the dollar, okay, which is the blue line, versus gold, which is the gold line. And you can see it's almost perfectly inversely correlated, which means that when the dollar goes up, gold goes down. And when the dollar goes down, gold goes up. So if you do feel like this could be a trend that continues, and I do feel like it could be a trend that does continue for a little while longer, gold and really any international type of investment will do much better. When when the dollar goes down, it actually helps international trade, and it makes the investments that you hold in foreign currencies obviously go up. And so those types of investments could be pretty attractive in this type of environment. I hope this was helpful and gave you a better perspective. Are there things to be concerned about? Of course. But as you can see, the U.S. is probably still the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. There is really not anything else at the moment that can replace the dollar. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless.